friends, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So I have done this video one time, I did it last year, and I don't think that I got through any of the things that I said I wanted to in that video. So it's fine. So the first question is the best book that I have read this. That is a very tough question. And I actually have a 5-star so far video that I recommend you look at if you want to know all the 5 stars that I've given this year. But I think the best book that I have read so far is probably going to have to go to Black Sun. I think. I absolutely loved this book. I think it's one of the best fantasy books that I have ever read. It's a pre-Columbian fantasy story about this world where there are multiple clans on this island or this city called Tova. Overseeing the clans are these watchers, and you're reading from 4 points of view. One is high priest of the watchers, and she is currently experiencing a coup and her life is in danger. And then you are also following a grieving son who is set to become the bodyguard of the new clan's leader after his mom was killed, but they claim it was a suicide. You are following a man who is a bit of a legend, a bit of a myth. He's not really human, and he is said to come back to Tova to take over his rightful clan, but he has some other plans. And then there is the last point of view, who is the woman who is set to bring him to Tova. It's very, very well done. It's very beautifully crafted, very well written, and each point of view is very important. There's a lot of nuance to the story, and I think it's, like I said, one of the best fantasies I've read. So next up, the best sequel you've read. I would have to say this is Chain of Iron. I haven't really read a lot of like sequels. I've read a lot of like romance sequels, but most of those are like considered standalones. They just happen to be in the same like series. This is the second book in the Last Hours trilogy, and it is the newest installment in the Shadowhunter world. And this follows obviously the wide cast of characters from Chain of Gold, but this one feels very different. I'm noticing that as these stories, as Cassandra Clare releases more books, she is becoming way more intentional with her character development and less so following a plot. She is putting so much into her characters and her character interactions and their growth with each other that I'm absolutely loving. I think this is a fantastic sequel, and I loved seeing more quiet amongst our characters, and I'm excited to read the last book in the trilogy. So a new release that I haven't read yet that I'm excited for, I actually had 2. I haven't read Tris Six Venom by Penelope Douglas yet. I'm excited to get to that one. I'm not quite sure what's holding me back, and I also am excited to get to A Chorus Rises. This is the second book in the A Song Below Water series. I'm not sure how many books it's going to be, but I absolutely loved A Song Below Water. It was in my top 10 of last year. It was really, really weird and just really good, and I'm excited to read the second one. I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I don't know if it's other girls in this world or if it's following the same girls. I'm not sure, but I'm excited to read it. My most anticipated release for the year, like I have said previously, I'm not really one to read new releases or like follow new releases that well. There's obviously a lot of like romance authors that I'm excited to read their releases as they come out, because as you might know, a lot of indie authors release multiple books a year. So obviously I'm excited for those, but I think the one that stands out the most to me is probably Of Storms and Silence, and this is following Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This is a YA fantasy series that is just very well crafted. The mythology is woven in very well. I'm excited to see the continuation of the series. It follows a girl who takes over as queen when her mother dies, but she wants to resurrect her mom, and in order to do that, she needs the heart of a king. So she kind of sets up this competition, not elect a king, but to win a king, and then she's going to take his heart. And then the other point of view is the guy who has to join the competition to get his sister back from this deity that has stolen her. So very, very well done. And I'm excited to get to the sequel, and I think it comes out like in November or something like that. The biggest disappointment would probably have to be A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Okay, so this is like a two-parter. I really liked From Blood and Ash. I thought it was good. I thought the exposition and the world building was a little bit much, but I had heard so much hype around this series and that the second one was just wild, and that was like the opposite experience that I had. Again, I have a whole reading vlog for this if you're interested to know more in-depth thoughts, but all of the issues that I had with the first one were just exacerbated in this book. They were just, the world building was horrendous, and the very slow plot, I think, was done in a very intentional way, but the intention was lost and the point behind it was lost. I think that the ending was not shocking or interesting or going to do anything interesting for the plot altogether. It was just a bad book, and honestly, I have the third one, but I don't know how excited I am to get to it. I'm gonna read it at some point, but it's definitely not an anticipated like the second one was. All right, so next up is my biggest surprise. This is probably going to be hate by Tate James and the whole Madison Kate series. This is kind of a book series that I just randomly ran across. I don't have TikTok, so I wasn't familiar with this series from TikTok, but this is following Madison Kate, and it is kind of just like this campy, messy story of her life. She ends up getting sent off after a crime is committed, and she is framed for the crime, and she comes back and she has to live with the people that framed her, and it's super campy and messy, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of those books that knows exactly what it's doing, and it knows how to like play jokes on itself, and I really loved it. Like every single book was just a fantastic time, and it really surprised me. Next up, my new favorite author, and that's definitely gonna have to be Charity B. I'm just kidding. No. So I actually have two. So the first one is going to be Brianna Hale. I haven't explored her entire backlist, but I have read 3, and 2 of them were 5 stars. They were absolutely fantastic. Loved them. And then the other is going to be Nikki Sloan, Filthy Rich Americans, something like that. I read that and I really liked them. I like her writing style, and a lot of people have compared her to Katie Roberts, so I'm all on board. And then the next 2 kind of go in the same order, newest fictional crush and newest favorite character. And I'm just gonna, And then next up, book that made you cry. There's actually only been one, and that was Love Her or Lose Her, which I gave 5 stars and is in my 5-star video. This is a beautiful story. It's a marriage in trouble story, and it follows a man who is very alpha. If you don't like alpha heroes, you probably won't like him, but he is a veteran, and his wife, in the beginning of the book, she decides that she doesn't feel very fulfilled by their marriage anymore, and she wants a divorce. And he says, okay, well, I want to go to marriage counseling. I'll do whatever I have to do to, save the marriage. And it's beautiful. If you watch my 5-star video, I actually cry, but this is just a very deep and personal book for me, and I really loved it. Next up, a book that made me happy, and I'm going to go with Someone to Watch Over Me. This is probably my favorite historical romance. I gave it 5 stars. It's Amnesia, and it's about a woman who is found in the Thames by a Bow Street runner, and she cannot remember who she is. Again, another alpha, and if you don't like them, you probably won't like him either, but I really loved this story. You see kind of the hero Grant grappling with not understanding how the person that he knew prior to finding her could be this person that he found. They are very sweet, and I just loved the whole story. Next up is Most Beautiful Book You've Bought This Year. I have covers that I really like, but I don't know if I would consider them beautiful per se. I do like my dust jackets for the Twilight and the ACOTAR trilogy, but they're not like beautiful. Well, they're fine. So I would say Crazy Stupid Bromance I really like because it has like the cat on it, and I love the colors. And then also The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I love the colors, and the cover is just gorgeous. So I like these 2, but I wouldn't necessarily say that they're beautiful in like the traditional sense as like the Clockwork Angel cover or something like that. All right, and then the last question is, what books do you want to read by the end of the year? I think in last year's video I said the same thing, but I would like to read all of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. So that starts with Mistborn. I have read Elantris, but I want to get through all of them. It's July at this point, so I don't know how realistic that is because the Stormlight Archives are huge, huge books, like thousands of pages each. So I don't know how realistic that is, but that is still a goal that I would like to achieve. But other than that, that is going to be the end of this video. Comment your thoughts down below on any of these questions or what you would answer if you have done this video. Also leave that down below. I would love to watch it. Other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video, and thanks so much for watching.